The crystalline chamber stretched 3 miles across, carved from the heart of an ancient asteroid that drifted at the center of the galaxy. Ambassador Marcus Webb had seen images of the Grand Assembly Hall before. Nothing prepared him for the reality of standing at its center. Above him, below him, and on every side. 5,000 alien species watched from tiered platforms that rose like mountains of living judgment. Marcus stood, alone on a circular platform suspended by invisible gravity fields. Beneath his feet, a holographic abyss displayed the evidence against humanity in rotating three-dimensional images. Earth's defense fleet destroying Tarkelian ships, human colony vessels crossing into forbidden zones. Encrypted communications that the Council claimed proved Earth's aggressive intentions. The Supreme Arbiter spoke, and her voice filled the massive space like thunder. High Counselor Vishara belonged to the Creston species, towering 12 feet tall, with an exoskeleton that gleamed like polished obsidian. Her arms gestured as she listed humanity's crimes, and her mandibles clicked with each accusation. Translation fields converted her words into 5,000 languages simultaneously. The species called humanity stands accused of 17 violations of the Galactic Accord, Vishara announced. Unauthorized military expansion, refusal to submit technology for Council approval, colonization of restricted systems. Ignoring diplomatic sanctions. Round the chamber, alien representatives chittered, hummed, and broadcasted their agreement. Marcus recognized perhaps 20 species by sight. The tentacled Marathi delegation pulsed with bioluminescent disapproval. The crystalline Vex emitted sharp frequencies that the translation field rendered as angry proclamations. The Volrathi War Council, massive bipedal creatures covered in armored scales, slammed their weapons against their platforms in a rhythmic demand for justice. Marcus had been standing there for 2 hours while the Council presented their case. His legs ached. His mouth was dry, but he kept his expression neutral. His hands clasped behind his back in a posture that suggested calm rather than the terror he felt. One human is facing the combined judgment of galactic civilization. The holographic display shifted to show Earth itself, rotating slowly in space. Red targeting indicators appeared around it, each one representing Council warships in position. 10,000 vessels surrounded humanity's homeworld. The message was clear: surrender or face annihilation. The Council offers humanity peace, Vishara continued. We are not unreasonable. We understand that young species often act rashly when they first discover the greater galaxy. We offer guidance, protection, and membership in galactic civilization. The peace terms appeared in the air around Marcus, projected in human script. Complete disarmament of Earth's military fleet. Surrender of all 37 extrasolar colonies humanity had established. Acceptance of a permanent Council garrison in Earth's orbit to ensure compliance. Submission of all human technology for Council review and approval. Adherence to Council-approved limits on population growth, guest industrial expansion, and scientific research. The terms scrolled on and on. By the time Marcus finished reading them, he understood the truth. This was not peace. This was subjugation dressed in diplomatic language. Vishara gestured with 2 of her arms. The Council has debated humanity's fate for 6 months. We have reached consensus. You will accept these terms, Ambassador Webb, or Earth will be classified as a rogue state. The consequences of such classification are severe. More holograms appeared, showing worlds reduced to rubble, species that had defied the Council and paid the ultimate price. Marcus recognized the psychological tactic. Show the stick before offering the carrot one final time. You have witnessed what happens to those who reject galactic order, Vishara said. Do not force us to add Earth to this tragic list. Accept our terms. Join civilization. Grow under our guidance. The chamber fell silent. 5,000 species waited for humanity's response. Marcus could feel the weight of those alien eyes on him, could sense the eagerness for Earth's submission. Many species in this chamber had themselves been forced to accept similar terms generations ago. They wanted company in their chains. Marcus took a slow breath. Then he did something that shocked the entire assembly. He laughed. It started as a quiet chuckle, but grew into genuine laughter that echoed across the massive chamber. The translation fields carried the sound to every platform, and confused murmurs rippled through the alien representatives. Humans were supposed to be terrified. They were supposed to beg for mercy. "You believe you're offering us peace?" Marcus said, his voice suddenly amplified across the entire hall. He had not authorized the amplification, which meant someone on the council wanted everyone to hear this. "You're not. You're offering us slavery disguised as protection." The chamber erupted. Thousands of voices rose in outrage. How dare this primitive species insult the council's generosity? Bashara's mandibles spread wide in fury, and she slammed one massive arm against her podium. "Silence," she commanded, and the chamber gradually obeyed. Her eyes, multifaceted and alien, fixed on Marcus with an intensity that would have made most beings collapse. "You stand alone, human. Your world is surrounded. Your fleet is outnumbered 1,000 to 1. You have no allies, no leverage, no hope of victory if you choose defiance. I will ask you once more, do you accept the council's terms?" Marcus tapped his wrist console. "Before I answer, let me show you something the council doesn't know we found." The holographic display flickered and changed. The images of Earth and council accusations vanished, replaced by something else entirely. A massive structure appeared, floating in the darkness of deep space. It was enormous, dwarfing even the largest council vessels. The structure was geometric and impossible, built from materials that seemed to bend light itself. Half the chamber gasped. The sound was unmistakable even across species barriers. Many of the alien representatives recognized what they were seeing. "The predecessor gate," Marcus said quietly. "Humanity found it 6 months ago during a deep space mining expedition in the Perseus arm. At first, we didn't know what it was. But we're a curious species. We investigated. We researched. We studied the technology left behind by the civilization that came before all of you." Bashara's voice cut through the rising murmur. "This is impossible. All predecessor sites are charted and controlled by the council. You cannot have activated, but we did," Marcus interrupted, and his smile was cold. "We activated it 3 days ago." The chamber exploded into chaos. Council members shouted at each other. Accusations flew. Several species demanded immediate military action. Others called for Marcus to be arrested and interrogated. The careful order of the Grand Assembly dissolved into pandemonium. Marcus stood at the center of it all, waiting. He had just thrown a grenade into the foundations of galactic order, and everyone in the chamber knew it. The predecessor gates were legend, remnants of an ancient civilization that had vanished millions of years ago. The council claimed all such technology was too dangerous for younger species to access, but humanity had found one and activated it. Bashara restored order through sheer force of presence. "You are bluffing," she declared. "If you had truly activated a predecessor gate, the council's monitoring systems would have detected it, would they?" Marcus asked. "Or has the council been lying about how much predecessor technology they actually control?" The question hung in the air like poison. Marcus could see the effect on the various delegations: doubt, suspicion, questions that many species had harbored for generations, suddenly given voice. "This session is concluded," Bashara announced. "Ambassador Webb, you will remain in council custody while we verify your claims. If you are lying, Earth will face immediate sanction. If you are telling the truth—" She paused, and Marcus could have sworn he detected fear in that alien voice. "If you are telling the truth, then we have much to discuss." As council guards moved to escort Marcus from the platform, he delivered his final words to the assembly. "The gate is active, and it's not the only one we found." The holding chamber where they placed Marcus was comfortable by most standards, but he knew a prison when he saw one. The walls were smooth and featureless, designed to prevent any attempt at escape or communication with the outside. A simple bed, a waste facility, and a food dispenser represented the only amenities. No windows, no screens, nothing to indicate what was happening beyond these walls. Marcus sat on the bed and waited. He had expected this. The moment he revealed humanity's discovery, the council would need time to verify and to panic in private. He checked his wrist console, but as expected, all communications were blocked. He was alone with his thoughts and the gravity of what he had set in motion. 6 hours passed before the door opened. The being who entered was not Vishara, but someone Marcus had not seen in the assembly. The alien was roughly humanoid in shape, but covered in fine scales that shifted between blue and green. 2 large eyes dominated a face that might have been beautiful by some standards. "I am Diplomatic Assessor Ratchin," the alien said in flawless English. "I am here to discuss your claims about the predecessor gate." Marcus stood. "Has the Council verified the activation? We have detected unusual energy signatures consistent with predecessor technology in the Perseus arm," Narration admitted. "But detection and activation are different things. The Council needs to know exactly what humanity has done." "Why should I tell you anything?" Marcus asked. "Your Council just threatened to destroy my homeworld." Ren's scales rippled with what might have been discomfort. "The Supreme Arbiter represents the Council's official position, but not everyone agrees with the hardline approach. There are many of us who believe the Council has become too controlling, too quick to threaten rather than negotiate." The alien moved closer. "Tell me the truth, Ambassador. What did you really find?" Marcus studied RHN carefully. This could be a trick, an attempt to extract information before the Council decided humanity's fate. But it could also be genuine. The fear he had seen in some of the alien representatives suggested that not everyone was happy with the current order. "We found 3 gates," Marcus said. "The first one was in the Perseus arm, just like I said. But when we activated it, it connected to 2 others. One near the galactic core, one in the outer rim territories." Ren's eyes widened. 3 gates. "All connected. It gets better," Marcus continued. "When our scientists studied the technology, they found something the Council never told anyone. The gates aren't just for transportation. They're part of a network. A massive network that once spanned the entire galaxy. The predecessors built hundreds of them, maybe thousands." "Impossible," Ratchin whispered. "The Council found 12 predecessor sites total across 10,000 years of galactic exploration. They're incredibly rare." "Are they? Or has the Council been suppressing information about them?" The question made Ratchin step back. "That is a serious accusation." Marcus pulled out a data crystal from his pocket. The Council guards had searched him, but had missed it, hidden in a false compartment in his boot. He had transferred it to his pocket once alone in the cell. "This contains everything we found. Historical records, technical specifications, and proof that the founding species of your Council discovered the gate network millions of years ago and have been hiding its existence ever since." Ratchin stared at the crystal like it was a bomb. "If what you say is true, this would mean the entire foundation of the Council is built on lies."
Oh, yeah.
"Now you understand why I laughed when Vishara offered us peace," Marcus said. "The Council doesn't want to protect younger species. They want to control them. The gate network would give every species free travel across the galaxy. No need for the expensive jump drives that the Council manufactures and licenses. No need for the trade routes they control. The entire economic and political structure of galactic civilization would change overnight." "Why tell me this?" Ratchin asked. "I could take that crystal straight to the Supreme Arbiter." "You could," Marcus agreed. "But you won't. Because I can see in your eyes that you already suspected something was wrong. How many times has your species tried to expand beyond Council-approved zones? How many times were you told it was for your own protection? How many of your scientists had their research classified or shut down because it touched on predecessor technology?" Ren's scales shifted to a darker blue, and Marcus recognized it as a sign of emotional distress. 17 times in my lifetime alone? My own research into advanced propulsion was classified when I discovered unusual energy signatures near the galactic core. The Council said it was dangerous, that I should focus on approved fields of study. They were protecting their monopoly, Marcus said, just like they're trying to force Earth into submission. Accept their terms, surrender our independence, and become another controlled species in their carefully managed galaxy. Ratchin took the data crystal with trembling hands. If I share this information, the Council will fracture. Species will demand answers. There could be chaos. War. It could be freedom, Marcus countered. The predecessors left their technology as a gift. They built the gates so all species could travel freely, connect, and grow together. Your council locked that gift away to maintain their power. Our council RHN corrected. Like it or not, my species is part of this system. We've benefited from the stability it provides. Stability built on chains, Marcus said. Tell me, Assessor Rachin, if you had the choice between comfortable chains and dangerous freedom, which would you choose? Before RHN could answer, alarms began blaring throughout the facility. The walls flashed with warning lights, and a voice announced something in a language Marcus did not understand. Ren's scales went pure white. What's happening? Marcus demanded. The council's monitoring stations detected another activation, RHN said, voice shaking. A gate just activated near the Volrathi homeworld, and another near Creston space. And another. They're lighting up across the galaxy. Marcus felt his heart pound. This was ahead of schedule. Earth's scientists had estimated they needed another week before the network could achieve full activation. Something had accelerated the process. RHN grabbed Marcus by the arm. You need to tell me everything right now. How many gates did humanity activate? What have you done? We activated 3 gates manually, Marcus said. But the network is self-replicating. Once we started the sequence, it began waking up other gates automatically. The predecessors designed it that way. Activate one section, and the whole network eventually comes online. How long? Until full activation. Marcus checked his console. Despite the communications block, the technical readouts were still functioning. His face went pale. 72 hours. In 3 days, every predecessor gate in the galaxy will be active and accessible. RHN released Marcus and staggered backward. The Council will go to war to stop this. They'll destroy Earth. They'll destroy every species involved. They'll do whatever it takes to maintain control. Then we'd better make sure the truth gets out before they can act, Marcus said. That crystal contains everything. Share it. Broadcast it. Make sure every species in the galaxy knows what the Council has been hiding. This will destroy everything, Arachon said. This will free everything. There's a difference. The alarms continued to blare as more gates activated across the galaxy. The countdown to freedom had begun, and nothing the Council did could stop it now. The only question was whether the galaxy would tear itself apart before the network came fully online. Rachin looked at the data crystal, then at Marcus, then back at the crystal. My species has a saying. The truth is a river. You can dam it, redirect it, or try to control it. But eventually, it will find the sea. What are you going to do? Marcus asked. Ren's scales shifted to a determined gold color. I'm going to open the dam. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened in record time. Marcus found himself once again standing on the central platform, but this time the atmosphere was different. Before, there had been smugness, certainty that the Council held all the power. Now there was fear and barely controlled panic. High Counselor Vishara did not bother with formal accusations this time. Ambassador Webb, the Council demands you deactivate the predecessor network immediately. Every hour, more gates come online. This technology is too dangerous for unsupervised use. Dangerous to whom? Marcus asked calmly. Dangerous to the species who might actually use them. Or dangerous to the Council's control over galactic travel and trade. The chamber erupted, but this time the voices were divided. Marcus could see the fractures Arachin had warned about. Nearly a third of the species present were demanding answers from the founding species. The data crystal's contents had leaked, spreading through secure channels and public broadcasts alike. Now everyone knew the truth. A representative from the Hoven Collective stood, its crystalline body refracting light in sharp angles. The human presents evidence that the Council has hidden predecessor technology for millions of years. Evidence that our ancestors were deliberately kept ignorant of faster travel methods. Is this true, Supreme Arbiter? Vishara's mandibles clicked in agitation. The Council has always acted in the best interests of galactic stability. Predecessor technology is powerful and dangerous. Unrestricted access would lead to chaos. You mean unrestricted access would lead to independence? Called out another voice. Marcus recognized the speaker as Krell, the Hovan ambassador he had met briefly. My species was nearly destroyed by Council peacekeeping forces when we tried to establish colonies beyond approved zones. You told us it was for our protection, but it was really to keep us dependent on Council-controlled trade routes. More voices joined in. Species after species stood to air grievances that had been building for generations. The careful order of the Council chamber dissolved into something closer to revolution. Meanwhile, on Earth, Admiral Jessica Rain watched the diplomatic chaos unfold on her command screens. The bridge of the ESS Defiant hummed with activity as her crew monitored both the Council session and the massive Volrathi war fleet that had just entered Earth's solar system. Admiral, the Volrathi are taking attack positions, her tactical officer reported. 30 capital ships, 150 support vessels. They're demanding our immediate surrender. Rain studied the tactical display. The Volrathi fleet was impressive, but she had prepared for this moment. 3 predecessor gates floated in strategic positions around Earth, each one now connected to the growing network. Her own fleet, smaller but positioned perfectly, waited near those gates. Open a channel to the Volrathi commander, Rain ordered. The screen filled with the image of a massive Volrathi warrior, scales gleaming like armor, eyes burning with aggressive intent. Human vessel, you will stand down and prepare to be boarded. Your planet is now under Council protection until this crisis is resolved, Commander Rain said, with a smile that did not reach her eyes. I'm afraid I must decline your generous offer. This is not a negotiation. Surrender or be destroyed. Rain tapped a control on her armrest. See those 3 gates surrounding Earth? They're connected to 7 different systems. 3 of those systems contain Volrathi colonies. Fire on Earth, and I'll send your own weapons through those gates directly to your homeworlds. Every shot you take at us becomes a shot at your own people. The Volrathi commander's expression shifted from confidence to uncertainty. You're bluffing. Am I? Your sensors can confirm the gate connections. Go ahead and check. 10 seconds passed while the Volrathi fleet verified Rain's claim. The commander's face darkened when the confirmation came through. This is a war crime. Using gates to threaten civilian populations. Is it? Rain asked. Or is it simply showing you that the old rules no longer apply? The Council came to Earth with overwhelming force, expecting us to submit. But we found a way to level the playing field. Now you have a choice, Commander. Stand down and nobody gets hurt. Or attack us and watch your own colonies burn from your own weapons. Back in the Council chamber, Vishara called for a vote on immediate military intervention against Earth. The measure needed a 2/3 majority to pass. As species after species declared their positions, the room's political landscape became clear. The founding species voted unanimously for intervention. They had the most to lose if the gate network remained active. But the mid-tier species split almost evenly, and the younger species voted overwhelmingly against military action. When the final count came in, the measure failed by a narrow margin. Vishara stood in stunned silence. For the first time in recorded history, the Galactic Council had failed to achieve consensus on a major security issue. Marcus seized the moment. The vote is clear. The Council cannot agree on military action because half of you recognize the truth. The Gate Network represents freedom from artificial scarcity, from controlled expansion, from the economic chains the founding species have used to maintain power. You speak of chains, Vishara said, her voice dangerously quiet, but what you've done will lead to chaos. Without controlled travel, species will expand into each other's territory. Resources will be fought over. The stability we've maintained for 10,000 years will collapse. Stability for whom? Marcus challenged. The species at the top? Because I've read the reports from dozens of species in this chamber. Species whose colonies were forcibly relocated because they were too close to Council trade routes. Species whose research was classified because it might lead to independent jump drive technology. Species who were told again and again that restrictions were for their own good. He turned to address the entire chamber. The predecessors built the gates and then disappeared. They could have used this technology to rule the galaxy forever. Instead, they left it behind as a gift for future civilizations. They trusted that we would be wise enough to use it well. Your council found that gift and locked it away because they wanted power, not partnership. Humanity doesn't have all the answers, Marcus continued. We're still learning, still making mistakes. But we know one thing with certainty. Freedom to travel means freedom to grow, to trade, to learn, to thrive. No species should control that. No council should decide who gets to reach the stars and who stays locked in their assigned territory. A new voice spoke from one of the mid-tier platforms. What is humanity proposing? The complete dissolution of the Galactic Council. Marcus shook his head. No, we're proposing the evolution of it. A new organization built on free access to the gates, on equal representation, on mutual defense, rather than enforced compliance. Call it the Free Transit Alliance. Any species that wants to join would have equal voice. No more founding species with special privileges. No more military threats to force compliance. Madness, declared a founding species representative. You would tear down 10,000 years of carefully built civilization. I would free it, Marcus replied. There's a difference. Before anyone could respond, every console in the chamber lit up with the same alert. More gates were activating, faster than predicted. The cascade was accelerating. Assessor Wren's voice came through on secure channels that Marcus could now somehow access. The network is adapting, Narration reported. It's repairing damaged gates, activating dormant ones. Full network activation is now estimated at 48 hours instead of 72. Vishara stared at Marcus with something approaching hatred. What have you unleashed? Marcus met her gaze steadily. The future. Whether you like it or not, the next 24 hours transformed the galaxy in ways no one could have predicted. As more predecessor gates activated, species began using them before the Council could react. Trade ships appeared in systems they could never have reached with conventional drives. Colony vessels that had been traveling for years suddenly had access to their destinations. The economic structure of galactic civilization began reorganizing itself in real time. On Earth, Admiral Rain negotiated the Volrathi fleet's withdrawal. It had not been easy. The Volrathi commander wanted to save face while backing down from an unwinnable position. Rain gave him an out by proposing a mutual non-aggression pact, enforced by the gate's strategic positioning. Both sides could claim victory while avoiding bloodshed, but not every encounter ended peacefully. Reports reached the Council of Skirmishes in contested territories. 3 species claimed the same resource-rich system, each arriving simultaneously through different gates. A founding species patrol tried to shut down a gate by force and was fired upon by local defenders. Small conflicts erupted across dozens of systems. Vishara used these incidents to call another emergency session. You see, she proclaimed to the assembly, this is exactly what the Council prevented. Chaos. Violence. Species fighting over resources because there are no rules. No structure, no authority to maintain order. Marcus stood once again at the center platform, but he was no longer alone. Representatives from 47 species stood with him. Having formally declared their support for the Free Transit Alliance concept, among them was Assessor Arachin, whose decision to leak the data crystal had cost them their position in the Council bureaucracy, but earned them respect from the reform-minded species. The violence is unfortunate, Marcus acknowledged, but it's not caused by the gates. It's caused by 10,000 years of artificial scarcity. The Council controlled which species could colonize which systems. They created the territorial disputes by drawing arbitrary lines and enforcing them with military power. Now those lines are dissolving, and yes, there's conflict. But there's also opportunity. Krell of the Hoven Collective stepped forward. My species has already sent delegates through the new gates to negotiate with 3 other species for joint development of the Kodra system. Not fighting over it, negotiating, sharing. The Council told us this was impossible, that species could not cooperate without their oversight. They were wrong. More examples followed. Species forming trade partnerships without Council approval, joint defense pacts between former rivals. scientific collaborations that crossed the old territorial boundaries. For every conflict, there were 3 examples of voluntary cooperation. But the Council was not ready to surrender power without a fight. Vishara revealed their countermove. A coalition of founding species had assembled a massive fleet at the galactic core, positioned near the primary hub of the gate network. If they could seize control of that hub, they might be able to shut down the entire network. "We gave you a chance to deactivate the gates peacefully," Vishara declared. "You refused. Now we will take control by force. The hub gate will be secured within 12 hours. Any species that interferes will be considered an enemy of galactic order." The threat hung in the chamber like a blade. If the founding species controlled the hub, they could potentially lock out other species from the network or charge fees for access. Everything would return to Council control, just with a different mechanism. Marcus felt his stomach drop. He had anticipated resistance, but not a direct assault on the network itself. Earth's fleet could defend their own gates, but could not possibly reach the galactic core in time to protect the hub. Then RH spoke up, her scales flashing with determined gold. "The Council assumes they will face only human resistance at the hub. They are mistaken." One by one, species representatives stood. The Hoven Collective announced they were sending their defense fleet to the hub. The Marathi followed. Then the Vex. Within minutes, 37 species had committed to defending the gate network against Council aggression. "You cannot win this," Vishara warned. "The founding species have the most powerful militaries in the galaxy. Even combined, your forces are no match." "Perhaps not," Arachan agreed. "But we don't need to win. We only need to delay you for another 24 hours. That's when the network reaches full activation. After that, every gate will be accessible to every species. You cannot control them all. You cannot shut them all down. The gift, the P. Predecessors left will belong to everyone, as it was always meant to." The Supreme Arbiter's mandibles spread in fury. "This is rebellion. This is war," Marcus said firmly. "This is liberation. And you started it the moment you demanded Earth surrender its freedom. We're just finishing it." Vishara terminated the session and ordered the Council fleet to advance immediately on the hub. The race was on. Could the Alliance hold the hub for 24 hours against the combined might of the founding species? Or would the Council crush this rebellion and restore their control? On Earth, Admiral Rain received new orders from the civilian government. Take the ESS Defiant through the gates to the hub. Join the defense. Show the galaxy that humanity stood by its allies. She looked at her bridge crew. They were ready. They had been ready since the moment Marcus revealed the gates to the Council. Every member of her crew understood what was at stake. Helm, plot a course through the gate network to the galactic core, Rain ordered. Engineering, I want every weapon system hot. Communications, send a message to our new allies. Earth is coming. Hold the line. The Defiant slipped through the nearest gate, traveling in seconds what would have taken years by conventional drive. When they emerged near the galactic core, Rain saw a sight that brought tears to her eyes. 300 ships from 37. Different species surrounded the hub gate in a defensive formation. They were outnumbered 5-1 by the approaching Council fleet, but they held position. Defenders of freedom facing the last desperate attempt by the old order to maintain control. All ships, this is Admiral Rain of Earth, she broadcast. We stand with you. For the next 24 hours, this gate belongs to everyone. Let's make sure it stays that way. The Council fleet arrived, weapons charged, demanding surrender. The Alliance fleet responded by powering up their own weapons and tightening their formation around the hub. The battle for the future of the galaxy was about to begin. The Council fleet opened fire first, a massive barrage designed to shatter the Alliance defenses in a single, devastating strike. But the Alliance had positioned themselves around the hub gate with tactical precision. When the weapons fire reached them, half the ships redirected their shields, while the other half activated the gate. Sending the incoming fire through to empty space on the other side of the galaxy, the founding species had never fought an enemy that could weaponize. The gates themselves, their certainty and overwhelming force met the reality of innovation born from desperation. The Alliance ships did not try to match the Council's firepower. Instead, they used mobility, jumping through connected gates to attack from unexpected angles and then disappearing before return fire could hit them. Admiral Rain coordinated the defense from the Defiant, her tactical genius becoming apparent as she turned humanity's smaller fleet into a decisive force through clever use of the gate network. Valrathi ships would line up for attack, runs only to find human vessels appearing behind them through gates they had not known were active. Kreshten heavy cruisers tried to flank the hub only to be ambushed by Hoven defenders who materialized from nowhere. The battle raged for 6 hours. Ships from both sides took damage. Lives were lost, but the Alliance held. Inside the Council's command ship, Vishara watched her tactical displays with growing horror. Her forces should have crushed this rebellion in minutes. Instead, they were being systematically outmaneuvered by species she had considered inferior. The truth was undeniable. The gates changed everything. Military power that relied on predictable movement and superior numbers meant nothing when your opponent could be anywhere at any time. "Pull back," she finally ordered. "Reform at the rally point." Her officer stared at her in shock. "Supreme Arbiter, we cannot retreat from primitives and rebels." "We are not retreating," Vishara said coldly. "We are adapting. If they can use the gates tactically, so can we. Send scout forces through the network. Find their weaknesses. We will crush this rebellion, but we must be smarter about it." The Council fleet withdrew, leaving the Alliance forces battered but victorious. Cheers erupted across the defending ships. They had held for 6 hours. They only needed 18 more, but Vishara was not finished. Over the next 12 hours, the founding species launched coordinated strikes across the galaxy. They attacked Alliance homeworlds, forcing defending ships to split their forces. They seized control of smaller gates and used them to conduct raids. They demonstrated that if the Alliance wanted to protect the gate network, they would have to protect every gate simultaneously. It was a war of attrition the Alliance could not win. Their forces were spread too thin. The Council's strategy was working. Then something unexpected happened. Species that had not committed to either side began activating gates near their territories. Not for war, but for movement. Trade ships, colony vessels, science expeditions. Millions of civilians from hundreds of species started using the network for its intended purpose. They did not ask permission from the Council or the Alliance. They simply used what the predecessors had left for everyone. The spontaneous civilian use of the network made military control impossible. The Council could not attack every ship. They could not shut down gates that were being actively used by neutral species for peaceful purposes. The network was simply too large, too distributed, too alive with activity to be controlled by any single force. Vishara realized the truth at the same moment as everyone else. They had already lost. Not because the Alliance defeated them in battle, but because the galaxy had moved on without waiting for permission. The old order was obsolete. The Supreme Arbiter called off the offensive. In the Council chamber, she addressed the shattered assembly with quiet dignity. "The Galactic Council as we knew it is finished. The humans were correct. We built our authority on controlling access to the stars. That control no longer exists." Marcus Webb stood once more at the center platform, but this time, Vishara invited him there. "You have one ambassador. The question now is what comes next. Will you gloat? Will you demand reparations? Will humanity use its position as the species that freed the network to claim new authority?" Marcus took a long breath. This was the moment he had been working toward and dreading in equal measure. "No. Humanity didn't do this to replace your council with our own version. We did it because we believe freedom of movement is a fundamental right. What comes next should be decided by everyone, not dictated by us." He turned to address the entire chamber. "The predecessors left us more than technology. They left us a question. Can different species work together without one dominating the others? Can we build a civilization based on cooperation rather than control? I don't know the answer, but I know we should try." Over the next weeks, Representatives from 300 species met on Earth to discuss the formation of the Free Transit Alliance. The debates were fierce. Some species wanted strict rules about gate usage. Others demanded complete freedom. There were arguments about resources, territory, defense pacts, and trade agreements. But unlike the old council, no species could force their will on the others. The gates ensured that every species had mobility, and mobility meant independence. Agreements had to be negotiated, not imposed. The final structure of the Free Transit Alliance reflected this new reality. Every member species had equal vote. Gate access was guaranteed to all. Disputes would be mediated through arbitration rather than military force. Species could form their own alliances and partnerships without approval from any central authority. It was messy. It was chaotic. It was also free. Marcus stood with Admiral Rain on a balcony overlooking the assembly hall, watching delegates from 100 worlds debate the finer points of the new charter. "Think it will work?" Rain asked. "Honestly, I have no idea," Marcus admitted. "We've unleashed something that can't be controlled. There will be conflicts. Probably even wars. Some species will abuse the freedom we've given them, so why do it?" Marcus watched a Hovan delegate shake hands with a former Council Enforcer species, both agreeing to joint development of a mining system, because the alternative was worse. The Council's peace was real, but it was the peace of prison. No wars because no one had the freedom to fight. No chaos because no one had the freedom to choose. "I'll take messy freedom over orderly slavery any day." "Very human of you," Rain said with a smile. "Maybe, or maybe it's universal. Every species in that hall chose the same thing when given the option."
Ow.
They stood in comfortable silence, watching ships from 1,000 worlds arrive and depart through the gate that now orbited Earth. The predecessor's gift was being used as intended, connecting species that would never have met, enabling cooperation that the old council would have prevented. Not every species joined the Free Transit Alliance. Some of the founding species retreated into isolation, bitter about their loss of power. A few tried to maintain their own smaller empires, but they were the minority. Most species embraced the new freedom. Even with its risks, 6 months after the gate's full activation, Cesar Arachin visited Earth as the newly elected coordinator of the Free Transit Alliance. Their scales had shifted to a permanent gold color, marking their transformation from council bureaucrat to revolutionary. "We have our first major crisis," RHN told Marcus. 2 species claimed the same system. Both arrived through gates. Both refused to back down. "What does the Alliance want to do?" Marcus asked.
That's why I'm here.
"The delegates are asking what humanity thinks. You freed the network. Many species look to you for guidance." "Right. We're not the council. We don't give orders to other species. But if you want my advice as a friend, get both species in a room together. Make them talk. Find out what they really need, not what they think they deserve. The gates gave everyone access to millions of systems. There's room for compromise if people are willing to look for it. And if they won't compromise, then let them figure it out themselves. We're not their parents. We're their partners. Sometimes that means letting species make their own mistakes." Ren's scales rippled with what might have been amusement. The old council would have sent a peacekeeping fleet and imposed a solution.
And that's why they failed, Marcus said.
Real peace requires people choosing it, not having it forced on them. Rachin left to return to the negotiations, and Marcus returned to the balcony. The galaxy was messier now than it had been under council control. There were disputes and conflicts and uncertainty, but there was also unprecedented cooperation, innovation, freedom. Earth had gambled everything on the belief that freedom was worth the risk. The galaxy had proven them right. Not because everything was perfect, but because given the choice, most beings chose to reach for something better rather than accept comfortable chains. The predecessors had built their gates and disappeared, trusting future civilizations to use them wisely. Humanity had activated those gates and stepped back, trusting other species to build their own futures. Maybe that was the real legacy of both civilizations. Not control, but faith in the potential of others, Marcus. Watched another wave of ships arrive through Earth's gate, traders, scientists, diplomats, adventurers, all moving freely through a galaxy that finally belonged to everyone. The old order had trembled and fallen. Something new was rising in its place. It would not be perfect. It would not be peaceful, but it would be free. And that made all the difference. Retriclod can make mistakes. Please double-check responses. See Sonnet 4.5.